Hello everyone, Jolene here from Bookworm Adventure Girl. Happy New Year. Welcome back. I hope that you are all doing well and enjoying 2026 so far. This is where I talk about the books that I'm reading and the books that I like to read. I like to read a lot of diverse books and I highlight Canadian literature. If you are new, thanks so much for checking out my channel. Please hit subscribe and stick around. It'd be great to have you here in 2026. The new year on BookTube is, it's always exciting to me. I love watching everyone's best books of the year and most anticipated books of the year, and I will be sharing all of that as well. But before I can do that, I have some catching up to do to kind of close out 2025. So today I am going to be doing a final book haul for 2025. I am staring at my cart here. It's huge. I haven't done a haul video since September. So you can imagine and probably guess that there's going to be a lot of books to talk about. Yeah, there's so many piles on this cart. It is so full. I also haven't done a wrap up since September. So I will be doing that very soon, so that we know where the TBR stack ended up at the end of 2025, and then what it's starting at in 2026. So if you watched my September book haul, I guess it's only 3 months of a book haul that I have, you already know that the TBR stack is currently at 1,549. The number is going to be insane after this haul, since it's covering so many months. A bit of a spoiler that it doesn't surpass 1,600, thank goodness, because I did think that it might, but it doesn't. So the other thing to keep in mind is that the final wrap up, like I said, it will cover 4 months of reading. So that's quite a bit of reading for me, and a lot of books that will be coming off of the TBR stack. So by the end, my hope is that the TBR stack will be okay. At least as far as for my TBR is ever concerned. Okay, I am going to begin this haul with something new, I'm going to say. It's not books, and it's not something that I've talked about before. So this isn't being added to the TBR, but it's very cool, especially when it comes to Can Lit. So Alex, who is the assistant publisher from the Literary Review of Canada, he reached out and he sent me 2 copies of the magazine. They are fantastic, and I want to show them to you and then share, what I loved about going through them and reading them. So first of all, they are stunning. This is September's 2025 issue. This is October 2025's issue. So just to give you an idea of their size, which, this might sound crazy, but it's at least one of the reasons that I think that they're just, it makes them kind of fabulous. Makes them grand in a way. So this is a paperback up against the magazine. So you get an idea, they're pretty large. So even, when you're holding the magazine, it takes up the whole thing. But it just, it feels so much bigger, and it feels like a magazine with actual magazine pages in them. So again, this might sound silly too, but we've gotten away from magazines. Everything's online, and it just brings back all of the feels. There was a time when you would get your magazines and it was exciting. And yeah, we've just lost all of that. So you'll notice here it says Literary Review of Canada, a journal of ideas. I don't know if you can see that. So for me, the next best part is the amazing content. So there are other Canadian literary magazines. A lot of them are more local or for a particular region of Canada, which is also great. And I'm thankful that we have those. We need those too. But the literary review of Canada is what I like about it, is that it's for the entire country, which really gives a great landscape of CanLit, across the provinces and what's important across Canada. So I'm going to take pictures and show you some of the pages so that you can see a little bit more of the magazines. They're so big, it's kind of awkward to show in the video. It will give you a sense of what's inside and what you can expect. So they publish original reviews and essays on Canadian books and also on Canadian culture. So back when magazines were huge and you would get your subscriptions, I would often get, the magazine, and then I would turn to the book section, where it talked about upcoming books, the next books to read, or maybe highlight a specific book or an author. I might look at a couple of other articles, but what I love about this is the entire magazine is about books and Canadian books, which is, all of it's totally my thing. I also like that the contributors are diverse. They include writers, editors, food critics, professors, historians, scientists, and just so many more different people, which means that, at least for me, I think that the magazine, not only has its finger on the pulse of what's going on in literary Canada, but it's from different perspectives, and I really, really like that part of it. And I'm sure that that's also one of the reasons that the magazine was named Canada's Best Literary Magazine at this year's National Magazine Awards. So that's very exciting too. So if you're interested in, learning more, I will link the website below, and they're also on Instagram. So check it out. And thanks again to Alex for sending me these copies and really just putting the literary review of Canada higher on my radar. So now moving on to the cart with new books that I received from publishers. And first up is this book that I received from Arsenal Pulp Press. It's called A Perfect Day for a Walk by the Water, Exploring Vancouver's Shores. This is by Bill Arnott. And I have talked about Bill Arnott a few times on my channel and his books before. And I've also chatted with Bill on my channel, so I will leave a link to that video below and you can go and check that out. So this book is about exploring Vancouver's coastline, which is very cool. And if you've ever had a chance to go there, it's quite lovely. I imagine that, like in Bill's other books, this is not a travel guide, to go see Vancouver or anything like that. It's more of a travel log of his walks. And in his other books, he includes, and I think he does in this too, he includes photographs, maps. And I find his books inspiring, especially if you are up for exploring in that area. It can kind of get you used to that vibe and what to expect. Next, I have a couple of books from Wordfest Press. And first up is a short story collection called A Fast Horse Never Brings Good News. And this is by Cary, Fagan. I've talked about it once before, but I'm hoping that this book will deliver what it promises, and that is a delightful, quirky, charming and humorous read that offers us a break from all of the worrying news and headlines and all of that. So I could use some of that in 2026. I think probably most of us could, so I'm hoping that it really does that. So then also from Wordfest Press is The Last of Its Kind. This is by Sibylle Grimbert, and it's translated from the French by, it's in very small print here, so by Aleshia Jensen. This takes place in 1835, and it follows a zoologist who is sent to Iceland. I love Iceland, so I'm looking forward to that. He rescues a wounded bird, and then this book is about their friendship. And I do like books that have human and animal friendships in them. So I look forward to seeing if I like this one or not. From Douglas and McIntyre, I have a children's book. It is The Inquisitive Raven by Richard Wagamese, and it's illustrated by Bridget George. And some of you may remember that I've talked about, I've talked about Richard Wagamese a million times on my channel, but his other children's book, which was called The Animal People Choose a Leader? I think that's what it is. And both of them are adapted from his book, One Drum, which is a beautiful, beautiful book. So in this one, Raven learns a lesson about basically just being himself. And it's another beautiful book. The illustrations are gorgeous. So yeah, it's lovely. Okay, next up is a book from Goose Lane Editions. They sent me Bad Indians Book Club. This is by Patty Krawec, and I'm really looking forward to reading this. This book was inspired, or maybe not inspired, it's not the right word, it evolved from a list of books to help, someone understand Indigenous lives. Then it kind of became a book club, and then there was a podcast, and now there's this book. And so the book is a fusion of memoir and fiction, and it is a reframing of Indigenous ways of knowing. So yeah, I actually may use this for one of the prompts of the Reading Across Canada Challenge. It does fit a couple of the prompts there. So I will link a video about that challenge if you're interested in joining in. We'd love to have you. Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. I always like starting the new challenges at the beginning of the year. And that one is all about reading more CanLit. So, okay, the last book from Publishers is also an Indigenous author, and someone I'm actually going to talk about a couple of times throughout this list. So this is from Highwater Press, and they have sent the YA graphic novel 7 Generations, A Plains Cree Saga. This is by David A. Robertson, and it's illustrated by Scott B. Henderson. So this follows a Cree family over 3 centuries, so a very long time, and 7 generations. And this particular edition is all 4 titles in the 7 Generations series, so you can get them separately. Here's the thing. So many of you know that graphic novels are not usually my thing. Like, I think I've read, I'm going to show you what some of it looks like. I think I've read 3 or 4 graphic novels in my lifetime. However, I do have several on my shelves, and I'm thinking that in 2026, it might be the time where I give graphic novels a little bit more of my reading time. We'll see. Okay, so with these books, these ones are from Publishers. That brings the TBR stack to 1,555. Next, I have a couple of books that I received from my very good friend, Lindy. I will link Lindy's channel below, and it's called Lindy's Magpie Reads. And Lindy also reads diverse books, and she reads a lot of CanLit. I think she knows way more about CanLit than I do, and she reads a lot more than I do as well. Lindy sent me this beautiful book. It's called Nishga by Jordan Abel. And this book, first of all, I'll tell you about it. It explores the legacies of residential schools, and from that, the complexities of Indigenous identity. And oftentimes, you all know this, I wait until a book comes out in paperback. This is hardcover. So yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful book. But this one, I really wanted it in hardcover. And the reason for that is because it has mixed media. And I was going to see if I can find one. And I think that the book itself, here's some pictures, can be more of an experience, and it can be better appreciated as a hardcover. So I think in paperback, something will be lost. So I am very appreciative to Lindy for sending the hardcover of this to me, because yeah, it's been on my list for a while to read. So the other book that Lindy sent me is called Anecdotes by Kathryn Mockler. And this is a collection of short stories. I know the cover kind of grabs you. Short stories about sexual violence, abuse, and environment collapse. Which totally doesn't sound like light reading at all. But it's also supposed to have some dark humor. And I do like me some dark humor. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this is all about. And Lindy, in all of Lindy's books, she always leaves a bookmark or a little note. She's just very thoughtful that way. So thank you again to Lindy for sending these along. That does bring the TBR to 1,557. Next are books from the Republic of Consciousness. There's a few of them here. Okay, so the first one is Capitalists Must Starve by Park Seo-leon, translated from the Korean by Anton Her. This is set in Japanese-occupied Korea, and it follows a heroine who dares to love, rebel, and carve out space for working class women in a society that is really determined to silence them. So that it might be heavy, but it might be okay. I will see how that one goes. Also from the Republic of Consciousness is Saints by Tim McGavin. I don't know much about this book, really at all, other than it's a, what did I want to say about it? It's a collection of short stories set in Mexico, which is interesting. You know, I don't read a whole lot of books set in Mexico. And the author, who is very new to me, is a crime writer. So I think the stories kind of lean towards crime stories and in that direction for genre. But yeah, I don't know a whole lot about that one. And then this final book from the Republic of Consciousness is called Mistress Koharu, and it's by, I don't know how to say these names, so Noboru Sugihara, and it's translated from the Japanese by Kalau Almany. This one sounds very intriguing and comical and a little out there. This is about an editor at a publishing house who has a secret. And the big secret, I'm going to tell you what it is that he has a Hungarian love doll that he takes solace in. So that's interesting in and of itself. But then things only, I'm going to say, it says improve. So when the doll comes to life, it begins talking and moving, and basically the doll becomes the perfect wife. So I can only imagine where exactly this will go. But it sounds like it might be fun, and yeah, it just might be something like I've never really read before. So with all of those books, it brings the TBR stack to 1,560. All right, next up are all of the Wordfest books. So Wordfest is the festival I went to in October, and I picked these books up because of that festival, which I loved, by the way, and I still have to tell you all about it. But there are a lot of books, so I have put them into categories. First up are the nonfiction books that appeared on Wordfest, I guess, or that were authors from Wordfest. So starting with Next of Kin by Gabrielle Hamilton. I will be reading this as a buddy read with Lindy in January this month. I'm really excited about it. So you may know Gabrielle as a successful chef, or from her previous memoir, which I haven't read. But in this memoir, she talks about how she is one of, I think, 5 or 6 siblings, and how over the course of time she becomes estranged from her family members. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to hear her actually talk about this book and share anything about it at the festival. So I'm open to finding out what it's all about and to seeing if I like it or not. So next up is You Will Not Kill Our Imagination by Saeed Tibi. This is another memoir. This one is about being Palestinian in this time period when a genocide is happening. I am so interested in this for a number of reasons, one of them being, because of some of my work, but also every time I hear Said talk about this book, I want to read it more. Like, he just compels me to read it more and more. And it works for, the work that I do. So next up is Look Ma, No Hands by Gabrielle Drolet, which is about how the author developed chronic pain that made her unable to use her hands. And the condition continued to get worse. And you can probably tell from the title, or at least I'm hoping that this is the case, that one of the ways that she copes is through humor. So I've been wanting to read this for some time. All right, so next up, it's a biography of one of Canada's most beloved actors, and it's John Candy by Paul Myers. This is a book that was long overdue in many ways, and yet also had perfect timing when it was published. So I will be talking about this more in my wrap-up. But for now, I will just say that Paul Myers did a fantastic job, researching this book and writing this book. And if you're a John Candy fan, it's a good one. So, a new to me author is next with Saga Boy by Anthony Michael Downing. So this is not a book this is not the book he was promoting at Wordfest. But it was his debut, and it's his memoir of growing up in Trinidad and moving to Canada. I think he's around 11 or 12 when he moved to Canada. I ended up loving this book. You can tell I've already read it, but I got this book for a deal, and I really do want to read his most recent novel. So his next book is fiction, and I do want to read that, especially after this, and I'll be talking more about this in my wrap-up. Another new to me author and another surprise, I had no idea. This is also a memoir. It's called The Migrant Rain Falls in Reverse by Vinh Nguyen. This is about how the author and his family fled Vietnam on a boat, and his father eventually vanishes. And so this book is about his search for his father. I'll be talking more about that one again soon too. Okay, next is Miriam Toews and her memoir, A Truce That Is Not Peace. And Miriam Toews she's known for writing autobiographical fiction. Her books are really about her life, or at least take from her life. But this book is about her sister and her father and reflecting on her writing life and what it means to be a writer. So that one was good too. Next up is a collection of memoir essays. This is Son of Elsewhere by Elamin Abdel Mahmoud. This is one of those times that, I have to say, a year ago, I had no idea who Elamin Abdel Mahmoud is. I still don't know if I'm saying his name correctly. And now he's everywhere. And not only that, he's just very cool. So I'm looking forward to reading this and maybe learning a little bit more about him and finding out what he's all about. So, okay, we have a few more to go here. Speaking of cool people, this next book is from the very cool David A. Robertson, who I've already mentioned before. And this is one of his memoirs. It's All the Little Monsters. And it came out in January of 2025. And when I talk about this, or actually I should say when I talk about Wordfest, I will be talking more about why I am very compelled to read this. But for now, I will just say that this is about how David lives with anxiety and depression. So I think if you're looking for something on mental health, might be a good one to check out if you're interested in that. I know there's so many books. My dogs are like, this is gonna fall over. Okay. There's a few more here. So up next in this nonfiction pile is an accidental villain by Lindy McIntyre. So this book was not one that I wanted to read until I heard Lindy McIntyre talk about it. And I heard him talk about it at Wordfest. And now I'm very curious because it's about Sir Hugh Tudor, who I know nothing about, but he seems to have had an intriguing story, or has an intriguing story. And it seems to be a not well-known story, and now I want to know what that story is and just find out what this is all about. So stay tuned for that. Okay, these final two books are both by the same author. The first is The Perfection of the Morning. So these are by Sharon Butala. And now this is a much older book, and these were not the books that she was promoting either, but I picked them up. I got a really good deal on them, and so I also realized that I had read a book by Sharon Butala when I was still in high school, I think, and if I recall correctly, it was about spirituality and like maybe meditations and nature or something like that. And I think that that's what this book is also about, you know, spending time in nature and connecting with the land and ourselves, I guess. But her other book that I picked up is different. At least it seems quite different to me. It's called The Girl in Saskatoon. And this is a true crime book. So I thought that was interesting. And the blurb for it says, in 1961, a country singer named Johnny Cash, so we all know who that is, picked her as his girl in Saskatoon and sang to her in front of a hometown crowd. And then a few months later, she was murdered. So that's an interesting way of kind of starting off a story. So the author was a friend of the girl who was murdered. So I'm interested to see how that all comes together. And I want to find out what it's all about. So that is the end of all of the nonfiction pile. But there's still like tons more. Still have quite a few piles here. So that brings the TBR to 1,572. The next big pile of books I picked up because of Wordfest are all fiction. So, beginning with a book that has been everywhere. Where is my book here? It's Broken Country by Claire Leslie Hall. And I probably don't have to say too much about this because, like I said, it has been everywhere. I've seen that it's been on a lot of people's best of 2025's list. So yeah, it's all over the place. But this is what can I say about it? It's a mystery, historical fiction. I love the setting and the cover. So the cover kind of gives you all of the feels of a place in Dorset, England. So I will be talking about this more when I do my my wrap up of 2025. So this next book, I don't know, this kind of surprises me, but it was the Calgary Public Library's most checked out adult book of 2025. And it's Julie Chan is Dead by Leanne Zhang. And this is a debut, and it's about twin sisters, Julie and Chloe, and they lead very different lives. And when Chloe is found dead, Julie takes advantage of this. And I'm not spoiling this, like you could probably find this out on the back. But she takes advantage of the situation to change her life. And that's all I'll say about it for now. Next up is another thriller. This is The Marionette by Terry Fallis. And according to Terry, this veers off his usual type of book because this is a thriller book about a thriller writer who gets to live out his dream of being in Canada's security intelligence program. or intelligence service, I guess it is. So I have a feeling that there will be some humor in this as well, because that is what Terry is known for. But I am looking to see, he's trying to venture out and try new things, and I'm looking forward to reading that and see how well he does that. This next book I really wanted to get to in 2025. So because that didn't happen, it has now become one of my most anticipated reads of 2026. So this is Jones by Neil Smith. And this is a new to me author. I had never heard of him before, or this book, until last year. But this book is really, really calling to me, and I have a feeling that I'm going to love it. It is about the relationship between a brother and a sister. And I have now heard Neil Smith talk about it. The way he talked about it really made me want to read it. And then I've heard Shelley Youngblood talk about it. And for her, she said that Shelley, by the way, is the CEO of Wordfest. And she said that she believed it was her favorite book of whatever year she read it in. So to me, that's very high praise, and especially from someone who's the CEO of, a word festival. But yeah, when Neil talked about it, I just wanted to gobble it up. Although I'm also aware that I need to guard my heart a little, because I have a feeling it's also going to be crushing. But like crushing in the best of ways. You know how books can sometimes do that. So looking forward to it. A Most Puzzling Murder by Bianca Murray. Here's what I'm hoping for this book. I want it to be an experience. And the main character in this receives a letter, and that letter begins a quest, I guess I'm going to call it, which includes puzzles and riddles that she has to figure out, and she has to solve them. And it says that not only the main character, but the reader has to, help solve them too. So I'm hoping to be really immersed in this thriller. And yeah, I'm just hoping that it'll be, great fun and maybe some suspense. I love books with some good suspense. Another debut is next, and it is To the Moon and Back by Eliana Ramage. And this story is about Steph Harper, who wants to become the first Cherokee astronaut, which I find really interesting. And I missed seeing Eliana speak about this book at the festival. But I am very interested, and it's getting a lot of hype, a lot of exposure. I'm really happy to see that. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so next up is the second book in a series, and it's Mystery in the Title by Will Ferguson and Ian Ferguson. My confession, some of you know this, is that I have never read any books by Will Ferguson, but that is going to change. I think I said this last year too. That is going to change in 2026. I have tons of his books on my shelf. However, I probably won't start with this series, but this is a cozy murder mystery series that he writes with his brother. So if you're looking for that kind of thing, you might want to try this out. But these are definitely on my radar, but I will be starting somewhere else, I think, with his books. So next is a book that I grabbed partly because of the cover, and it's Snap by Susan Nielsen. And I think it's just a really cool cover, and it gives off some Life of Pi vibes, probably just because of the tiger. But I think it's very cool. So this follows three main characters who have nothing in common, whose paths would never probably have crossed, except for the fact that they are all going to anger management. So that's what brings them together, and it's pretty interesting. So, okay, there's still a couple more books here to go. Girlfriend on Mars by Deborah Willis. This is about a woman who goes on a reality show to see if she can win one of two seats on the first ever human-led mission to Mars. So interesting. If this was a thing, like if you could actually do that, would you sign up? If you could go to Mars, would you sign up for it? Let me know what you think. Okay, next up is a most anticipated book of 2025 for me, and it's a debut novel. Pick a Color by Suvan Kamthemavongsa. I love her. I know I have gushed about her writing in the past. And this story takes place over one day in a nail salon, and it basically shows the interactions between the owner, well, not just the owner, but the people who work there, and then the people who are, their customers, their clients. And then this just won the Giller Prize. So I will leave a link below to where I talk about all of the books that on the short list before the announcements happened. I think it was before the announcements happened. Yeah, I'm not positive, but okay. So another one that was on the Giller was the Paris Express by Emma Donoghue. This is also a book that takes place in a day, or really in a matter of hours. It's historical fiction, or inspired by historical fiction, and it follows the people on a particular train going from Normandy to Paris. It takes place in the 1800s, late 1800s, I think. So again, I talk more about that on that video as well. And last but not least for the fiction pile is Deep Cuts by Holly Brickley, which is about music. And Joe is a songwriter, and Percy has opinions about music. So the two of them kind of begin to collaborate and partner up when it comes to music, and we get to follow that process and the relationship, and just kind of go through all the ups and downs with them. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this one all comes together. So with all of those fiction books, that puts the TBR at 1,584. I know we're creeping close to 1,600 now. We're still not done yet. Still have a few more to go here. There were some short story collections and anthologies that were huge hits at Wordfest. So first up is Cree Word for Love by Tracy Lindberg, and it's illustrated by George Littlechild. This, in some ways, this is like Nishga for me. I wanted to get the hardcover to have like a really good quality book, especially for some of the artwork in it. Like some of the artwork is really amazing. So these short stories look at love from the Cree tradition, which doesn't have the Western notion of love. So I'm looking forward to reading that. Next is A Steady Brightness of Being, which is an anthology, and it's edited by Stephanie and Sarah Sinclair. This is a collaboration of several Indigenous authors. So again, David A. Robertson is in this one as well. And they all wrote letters, and these letters were either written to themselves or other people, to their children, to their ancestors, to future generations. And it shares wisdom and thinking about the Indigenous experience and its future. So I still have to read that one. Another anthology and collaboration is Elbows Up, edited by Al-Amin Abdel Mahmoud. I told you earlier that he is everywhere. Him and David Robertson seem to be everywhere these days. These essays come from many different Canadian figures, and they are responses to the Canada versus, I don't like saying versus, but Canada versus American trade war and the swell of national unity in Canada that came from all of that. So with these, that brings the TBR to 1,587. There are two poetry collections that I picked up because of Wordfest as well. And first is Found by Suvan Kamthemavongsa. I've been wanting to read some of her poetry because her writing is so poetic and it just flows like that, and I wanted to check out her actual poetry, so I grabbed this one. And then the other poetry book is Possession by Katarina Vermette. who I also love. And I've read one or two of her poetry collections already, so I was happy to get my hands on this. I love her writing as well, and I was just really happy to get this. But it also has a beautiful cover. I love all the beadwork and that in the cover. So that is all for the Wordfest books. And that brings the TBR to 1,589. And we still have one more little pile to go here. So these are some of the other books that I've picked up along the way over the last 3 months. So one of them was because of a Wordfest event. I picked up 21 Things You Need to Know About Indigenous Self-Government. This is by Bob Joseph, who I went to see, and so I grabbed this before the event. I've actually already talked about this, so I will link that video below where I talk about like 4 authors, because I went to their author events ahead of time. So next I picked up Doppelganger by Naomi Klein, and I've heard so many interesting things about this and good things about this. It ended up on the 67 best CanLit books of the 21st century, back when Lindy and I did that, thanks to all of your help. So I'm really intrigued by it. I will leave a link to those 67 best books if you're interested. But this is about how Naomi Klein is mistaken, or I'm going to say mistaken, for Naomi Wolf, and what that experience is. So we'll see. Next up is another Giller Prize shortlisted book, and it's The Tiger and the Cosmonaut, by Eddie Boudel Tan, who was a new to me author. And this is about a family who lost their son at a very young age. When he went missing, he goes missing in the woods. And now there's the other timeline is now the father is missing in those same woods. And this brings the family together. And it's also a catalyst for finding out uncovering some of the family secrets. Okay, next is Woman on the Verge by Kim Hooper. And I've been wanting to read more by Kim Hooper ever since I read her short story collection. I devoured it. I loved it. It was interconnected stories. It's called All the Acorns on the Forest Floor. It's incredible. So it was so good. But Woman on the Verge follows the lives of 3 women who find out that they are actually intertwined in some way. So I'm really looking forward to just kind of going back and, finally getting to read more of her work. Because I did love her short stories. Plus I really like the cover of that one as well. Okay. The final book in this massively gigantic book haul is The Homemade God by Rachel Joyce, who is another author that I really want to read more of her work. I have loved her writing. I have loved her characters. I've enjoyed the stories. So I'm hoping that that's the case here as well. Like her writing, everything. I really want to. So The Homemade God follows the family of an artist who has died, and the children and it says much younger a wife all go to Italy to sort out his affairs. So I do love Italy. I love that it's set in Italy. It's another, beautiful cover that kind of gives you the Italian vibes. And I can't wait to see if I fall in love with some of these characters as well. So this, I'm hoping to get to this one soon, actually. That brings the TBR to 1,594, which means we have stayed below the 1,600 mark. And as I mentioned, I do have 4 months of books that I have read, many of these, to actually take off the TBR. So stay tuned for that to find out where the TBR is starting for 2026. Please let me know if you have read any of these books, if you're interested in any of these books, if some of them are new to you. please let me know what books you have recently hauled. Did you get a whole bunch of books over Christmas? What are you most excited to start reading in 2026? As promised, I will leave links to everything that I talked about below, to all of the videos and publishers and all of those kinds of things. I look forward to chatting with you in the comments. Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks again for watching. I hope that you have a 2026 filled with many, many adventures.